Mangwana ni Malelepo, Vukenjani, Kleklas Wanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Diana Master. How are you, Diana?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's a Thursday, quarter to the weekend.
Last day of the month.
Yeah. Oh.
December is literally around the corner.
Wow.
Exciting
like
times.
literally we go to bed today and it's already December.
It's almost Jesus' birthday
Oh,
for
wow.
some.
For some?
Yes,
oh, wow. Okay. Now let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. July unrest instigator Mdumiseni Zuma gets a 12-year prison sentence. Tunisian opposition figure Moussi begins hunger strike in prison, and Mahosi's killer is arrested. We'll also be bringing you news from Zimbabwe a little later on in the show with Gore. For now, we'll take a quick ad break and return with our top stories.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, the Pietermaritzburg Magistrates Court has sentenced Mdumiseni Zuma to 12 years imprisonment for instigating the July 2021 civil unrest following the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. The 36-year-old father of three is the first of more than 60 so-called instigators to be convicted and sentenced for the deadly violence that gripped KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng. More than 350 people died across provinces. At least 50 billion rand in infrastructure damage was recorded, and more than 150,000 jobs were lost. Zuma, who is not related to the former president, was arrested in August 2021. Police investigations showed that he recorded a video of himself calling on people to loot and burn the Brookside Mall in Pietermaritzburg. The video was shared on his WhatsApp status. He claimed that he had made the video as a drunk prank, but this was dismissed by the court during his conviction in September.
Getting into our next story, Moussi, a prominent opponent of Tunisian President Kais Saied, went on a hunger strike in prison on Tuesday to protest what her lawyer said was a violation of her rights to freedom and political activity. A judge last month ordered Moussi's imprisonment after police arrested her at the presidential palace entrance on suspicion of assault intended to cause chaos, part of a crackdown on opposition politicians. Moussi is the leader of the Free Constitutional Party, which warned in a statement against attempts to fabricate legal obstacles to remove her from participating in the presidential elections expected next year. A lawyer said in a statement that Moussi would be on hunger strike for 16 days, coinciding with a campaign to highlight violence against women in Tunisia. Police this year have detained more than 20 leading political figures, accusing some of plotting against state security. Saied has described those detained as terrorists, traitors, and criminals. Saied, a retired law professor who was elected president in 2019, shut down the elected parliament in 2021 and moved to rule by decree, actions his opponents described as a coup and which he rejects.
Now, former Disaster Management Authority Chief Executive Officer, we are in Lesotho now, Caroline Mahosi's driver, has emerged as a key suspect in her gruesome murder. Mahosi was brutally murdered alongside her 11-year-old son, Kabelo, at their Matala Phase 1 home in Maseru on 29 October 2023. Her house helper was also shot but survived. She is still fighting for her life in hospital. Now, Mahosi's driver, alongside two other suspects, have been arrested and are expected to appear in court today. The trio had been expected to appear in court on Monday, but the police applied for a further detention order from the Maseru Magistrates Court to facilitate further investigations. The extended detention expired last night. The suspects must therefore appear in court today because of a legal requirement for the police not to hold suspects for more than 48 hours without sending them to court. A further detention order is also valid for only 48 hours. Police investigations have revealed that Mahosi's driver from the DMA had allegedly orchestrated the assassination plot with the hope of getting a staggering cash figure from the house.
Getting into our next story, extreme weather events plunged more than 27 million children into acute food insecurity in 2022 in 12 of the countries most vulnerable to climate change, the NGO Save the Children announced on Tuesday. This figure is 135% higher than in 2021, according to a data analysis published by the British charity ahead of the UN Climate Conference COP28, which opens in Dubai on Thursday. Children account for almost half of the 57 million people in food crisis in these 12 countries in 2022 due to drought, floods, and other extreme weather events, according to data from the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, an initiative supported by the UN and various NGOs and international institutions to describe the severity of food emergencies. Of the 12 countries, Ethiopia and Somalia were home to almost half of the 27 million children facing these levels of food insecurity, according to Save the Children. The charity is calling on COP28 to take action against climate change, in particular by recognizing children as key actors of change, but also to take action against other causes of food insecurity, such as conflict prevention or strengthening health systems.
Now, a British-Nigerian man has confessed in a U.S. court to defrauding and stealing more than $6 million over 7 years. Idris Dayo Mustapha, 33, was part of a hacking ring that infiltrated email and brokerage accounts of U.S. firms between 2011 and 2018, causing losses worth $6 million, officials said. A dual national of the UK and Nigeria, Mustapha was extradited from the UK in August, 2 years after his arrest. His crimes carry a jail term of up to 20 years. He has not yet been sentenced. Now, Mustapha pleaded guilty plea at a court in Brooklyn, New York on Tuesday to 4 charges: computer intrusion, securities fraud, wire fraud, and access device fraud. Those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Talent Gore joins us from Zimbabwe after the break.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
All right, it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe. And our first story is political prisoner, opposition party politician Job Sikala, who yesterday had his conviction and sentence on charges of obstructing the course of justice quashed by the High Court. Good morning, Talent. Please get into your first story.
Good morning, Ashwin, and good morning, Diana. So, opposition politician Jacob Sikala yesterday has his conviction and sentence on obstructing the course of justice quashed by the High Court over an appeal, but will remain behind bars over 2 other pending cases. High Court judges appeal Justice Pisirai Kwenda and Benjamin Gore overturned a ruling by a lower court in May this year that had found the former Zengeza West legislator guilty. The appeal apparently is allowed and the conviction is quashed and set aside. The accused is found not guilty and he was acquitted. Sikala was convicted of constructing the course of justice after he allegedly accused a ZANU-PF for murdering Citizens Coalition for Change activist Mo Blessing Ali. The former legislator was arrested last year in June and he has been in prison since then. So apparently, even though his conviction was quashed, he is still in prison and he will remain in prison after and up until his other convictions appealed and whether or not he will be found not guilty on those other charges.
All right, now, Talent, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has refused to release the December 9 by-election voters' roll to candidates contesting in the polls. Why is this?
Yes, as you all may know, on December 9, Zimbabwe is going for by-elections after the after some members of parliament were recalled, and these members of parliament, they are from the Citizens Coalition for Change. So now Zimbabwe is going for by-elections on December 9. So the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has refused to release the December 9 by-elections voters' roll to candidates contesting in the polls. Opposition Citizens Coalition for Change candidate for the Mavuku Tafara constituency, Fabian Kufakureva, has since dragged Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to court, seeking an order that compels the electoral body to release the voters' roll ahead of the by-elections. Apparently, under the Electoral Act, ZEC is required to give candidates copies of the roll soon after confirmation of their candidature. And Kufa Hakurek, who is being represented by Obey Shava for the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, stated in his founding affidavit that he had written to ZEC on several occasions demanding the release of the voters' roll to no avail, and he has since given ZEC 48 hours to hand over the voters' roll, because it is within his right to get the voters' roll. But the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is refusing to hand out or to give out the voters' roll ahead of the December 9 by-elections.
All right, non-cholera treatment camps have been set up while oral rehydration points are being established in communities in order to bring services closer to the people. Please give us your last story.
And the government has set up cholera treatment camps across the country, and also you find out that they have mobilized resources and they're trying by all means to ensure that we fight and we are able to contain the cholera outbreak. As you can see, in Zimbabwe, particularly in Harare, we have shortage of water and we have best sewer, and this has caused the cholera outbreak. And government is saying that they are making sure that they treat and they contain the cholera outbreak. As of yesterday, Harare had recorded 132 cases in a day, 135 cases of cholera in a day, and Harare right now has become the hotspot of cholera.
Government can come up with a more effective plan to help curb the cholera. Thank you so much, Talent, for bringing us the latest news from the ground in Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always a pleasure having Talent Gore with us on Africa Good Morning. We'll now take a look at the weather predictions before we return with our economic news.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Let's get straight into our economic news. The World Bank warns that Mozambique's state-owned enterprises represent the greatest potential risk to national public finances among African countries, accounting for almost 35% of GDP, second only to the vulnerability registered in the Gambia. In countries where state-owned enterprises represent a large share of economic activity, they can pose risks to public finances. For 14 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, SOE revenues average 7% of GDP. SOE assets average about 34% of public sector assets, and SOE liabilities average about 20% of GDP, said the World Bank's report on the operational context of public companies. In the document, which analyzes the situation of 76,000 public companies in 91 countries, the World Bank experts write that when risks materialize, they often have major and lasting implications for fiscal deficits and debt, as well as for conduct of fiscal policy, and they can lead to economic and financial crises.
Getting into our next story, Azania Bank Limited has signed a cooperation agreement with the Tanzania Investment Center as the center strives to improve its services and increase efficiency to enable it to lure more investors into the country. Speaking during the signing ceremony at TIC offices in Dar es Salaam, a TIC Executive Director, Gillette Terry, said they were happy to cooperate with Azania Bank, which has shown great performance. As TIC, we believe that to increase efficiency in serving foreign and domestic investors, it is good for us to cooperate with stakeholders who are more experienced and capable than us, and it is clear that Azania Bank has currently shown great potential in that. So we believe that through these agreements, we as a center will benefit greatly in improving our systems, improving our services, and ultimately being able to serve investors with more professionalism. You can only see further if you stand on the shoulders of the giants, concluded Terry.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. We're going to go straight to the economic indicators just before we take a short break and return with the sport.
Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with cricket news first. It is the T20 series taking place between Australia and India, and it's a 5-game series. Third game was won by Australia, and it is India that lead the series now by 2-1. And it was a high-scoring game, very exciting, and it was India that scored 222 for the loss of 3 wickets, and then Australia replied with 225 for the loss of 5 wickets, and lots of runs, lots of 4s and 6s in that game. Australia's player of the match was Glenn Maxwell. He scored 104 unbeaten runs off just 48 deliveries, scoring the winning runs of the second last ball of the game. Earlier, it was Ruthjai Gutwat for India that scored 123 runs off just 57 deliveries. The fourth game will be played on Friday, and the fifth game in the series will be played on Sunday. Moving on to golf news, and it's the South African Open Golf Tournament for men that will take place in Johannesburg at the Blair Athol and Equestrian Estate, and it's sponsored by Investec, and a strong field that's assembled for the tournament. It's defending champion Tristan Lawrence that will again defend his title, and other high-profile South African players in action. It is also Dylan Fratelli that will play in the tournament, also Christian Besaidnout and Dean Burmeister that won the past weekend, and also Charles Schwartzel, and he's the past champion as well. Lots of money to play for. It is a total amount of €1 million that's on offer for prize money. That is €20 million in total for the tournament. Also, a few players from overseas that will play. It will be Hunter Epson from the USA that will be in action, and also Anton Carlson from Sweden. Also 5 amateurs that will play in the tournament. Christo Lamprecht will also play in the tournament. He won the British Amateur earlier in the year and also competed in the British Open earlier this year. And closing off today's international sports news with the soccer news, Champions League soccer action, and it was Newcastle that was denied a famous win in Paris against PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and they drew the game 1-1 after a very controversial VAR penalty was given to the home team PSG. That was in the 98th minute, and it was 1-1. It ended in Paris, and that was in Group F, so that means that Newcastle is now third on the points table, and it is 2 points behind PSG. That's got 7 points at the moment. Leading Group F is Borussia Dortmund on 10 points. Also in Group G, it was Manchester City that came back from behind, playing at home at the Etihad Stadium. They beat RB Leipzig by 3-2. They were down 2-0 earlier in the game, but it was goals from Erling Haaland and then the winner by Julian Alvarez in the 87th minute that earned Manchester City the win by 3-2. They comfortably lead Group G by 15 points, and it is Leipzig second on 9 points, and way ahead of Young Boys on 4 points. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
You're still with Africa. Good morning. For those of you that are just joining us, let's take a look at the highlights. July unrest instigator Mdumiseni Zuma gets 12-year prison sentence. Tunisian opposition figure Moussi begins hunger strike in prison. State companies a serious financial risk. This is according to the World Bank.
Those have been our stories. Thank you very much for joining Africa Good Morning. We will see you in December. Suresh Aganaka.